Okay, so today is a big one. We've known about this sneaker for a while, and let me tell you guys, it is ready to take over this year. It has got people going crazy, so let's get into it. Alright, here we have the box. This should bring back some memories of not too long ago when we had the Jordan 1 lost and found. As you can see, it's got a very similar idea to that pair OG Jordan 3 retro box. All of these scuff marks around the edges to make it look and appear like it's been left on a shelf for a while. I think this box definitely looks better on camera. Like in person, you can very clearly see that this is all printed on. It doesn't really look that authentic, if I'm being honest. Either way, as you can see, you've got the red Jumpman on top. You've got the black lid sweeping around the sides. You've got that very dark elephant print. Let's pop the top and let me show you guys today's pair. This is the Jordan 3 White Cement Reimagined. Couple things to note about the box. You also get some of that aging or scuffing on the inside as well, and you also get a little included booklet over here, so you can see this little Jordan retro booklet that's all scuffed up around the edges. And when you open it up, you've got the full breakdown of all of the materials and different elements that go into making the Jordan 3. This is very cool and a nod back to the original Jordan 3s that used to come with this booklet, so they've chucked that one in there, and it's just a nice little detail. But here we have them, guys, the latest sneaker as part of Jordan Brand's new Reimagined series, which is definitely interesting, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But of course, let me run through the release details on these real quick. So they're dropping on March the 11th, which I'm sure you guys already know. So that is this upcoming Saturday. And like a lot of Jordan Brand's massive sneaker releases that are super highly anticipated, they have pushed out exclusive access for a couple different regions. So yeah, some people have these things early. Now the retail price is set at £190 here in the UK, or $210 if you're out in the US. Okay, so with this being such a massive sneaker release for Jordan Brand, there's definitely a few things that you need to know about the drop, because it's becoming pretty frequent with these mass-produced sneaker releases that we find quality control issues. For example, the Jordan 1 Chicago Lost and Found had the mold issue, where pairs were literally being shipped out to people with literal mold growing on them. Now, from what we're seeing online with the people who managed to get their pairs early, whether it's through exclusive access or some other way, we've started to see some people with quality control issues on the Jordan 3 White Cement. From what I've seen, a lot of pairs seem to have issues between the right and left pair, whether it's the white leather that looks completely different, or general inconsistencies with the elephant print material from right to left, which can end up looking a little bit awkward. So for the most part, your pairs should be fine, but it's definitely worth mentioning because this is rumored to be a very high stock release, like a lot of the other pairs that we've seen with issues. I think the stock rumor for the Jordan 3 White Cement is 500,000 pairs, which is definitely a lot. So when they're mass produced in those numbers and using multiple different factories, there's bound to be quality control issues. So like I said, this is the second sneaker that Jordan Brand has done as part of this reimagined retro series. So this series started with the Jordan 1 Chicago Lost and Found, and we've already heard multiple rumors of a bunch of different models that are also going to get this reimagined treatment. I think the main three that we know of is the Bread Jordan 4s, that's supposed to get the reimagined treatment, also the Royal Jordan 1 and the Black Toe Jordan 1, which would be pretty incredible. Essentially what this reimagined series is Jordan Brand going back into the archive and retroing some of the original colorways. sneakers. And with these retros, they're trying to make it as close to the original as possible. So the details on this pair of threes are really as close as possible to the original from the 80s. So this includes the updated elephant print to replicate the original from 1988. Of course, the Nike branding as well, which you find on the back tab. That's something that a lot of people are super happy about. You also find the Nike branding on the bottom as well, which on a lot of other retros, they had the Jumpman on the back and also the Jordan branding underneath. Now, the main difference between this pair of shoes, what they've brought to the table in terms of the Reimagined series, all of the yellowing or sail accents that they've given this sneaker, which is again trying to give you that vintage feel, like this sneaker has been sat around for a long time. And that vintage sailed out effect also ties into the box. That's why it's all scratched up and dinged up. Now, the Jordan 1 Lost and Founds came with all of the cracked leather. However, that's not the case with this pair of sneakers. The leather on these is much more standard. In fact, I will say that it does feel pretty nice in hand. It feels like a decent feeling leather. The elephant print also feels pretty standard to a Jordan 3, so no surprises there. In terms of quality control on my personal pair, it's really not too bad. You can kind of see there's a little bit more creasing on the left pair, or just the leather looks a little bit different in general. But honestly, I'm pretty happy. You're definitely not going to notice it once you start wearing them around, but it's definitely something to keep your eye on. Now, of course, you got the classic fire red details on this pair of sneakers, and that starts with the little eye stays that you find towards the bottom of the sneaker. You got that embroidered Jumpman on the tongue is also fire red. And then peeking into the sneaker on the reverse of the tongue, the insole and around towards the outsole just at the front there, and then the Nike branding as well. Now, as for the vintage effect or the sail details on this sneaker, personally, I kind of like it. Find it on the midsole, the back tab, and then obviously underneath the sneaker as well for some of that outsole. Normally, all of those details would be solid white on the original White Cement Jordan 3s, but obviously it's supposed to nod to what the sneaker would look like if it was just kept in a box for a long period of time. That yellowing of the midsole and the plastic elements is something that naturally happens over time when a sneaker is just stored away. Some people would have rather that they just kept it traditional and just made these solid white accents instead of the sail. And also think some people had that opinion towards the Jordan 1 Lost and Found. They wished it had regular leather instead of all of the sail accents and the cracked leather. But honestly, I think it's a nice touch on this pair of sneakers. It ties into the storyline of this Reimagined series, so I personally don't mind it whatsoever. I know some people want to create the vintage look themselves by just owning the sneaker for a long period of time or wearing it around, but I honestly don't think this is going to be a deal breaker for people. I think they're still going to buy this pair of sneakers and enjoy them. Let me know if I'm wrong about that. Now, for sizing, I personally went true to size on this pair of sneakers and they fit perfectly fine. I know you might be wondering, since they altered the shape of these very slightly, if that changes the sizing at all, and in my experience it doesn't, so I would still recommend going true to size. Overall, I am hyped for these. It's a really solid sneaker in obviously an iconic colorway. It gets people talking and interested in the history of Jordans, which I think is a really cool aspect of retroing these older pairs. And it's also pretty rare that you get a retro of an original colorway on any Jordan model. Honestly, we might not see another White Cement Jordan 3 for another 5 to 10 years. And that's the same for all of the OG colorways that are in the pipeline. So if you want these, now is your shot. Even if you just buy them and chuck them on ice for a little bit, you don't want to get a few years down the line and regret the fact that you passed up on this sneaker. I definitely think there's a very high demand for this pair of sneakers. So good luck if you are going for them. Thanks for hanging out, and hey, if you want to check out what other sneakers are dropping soon, well, that video's right there.